future me debating and putting in a spoiler warning. There will be only two post-game classes featured in this video. Even if just on a menu, they are there. I do not discuss their plot significance or really draw attention to them, but they are there. So if you don't want to know who they are, don't watch the video. And either way, this video isn't very accessible for pretty much the main story. I'd really just recommend waiting for post-game. And lastly, footage of super bosses is shown off, so if you'd like to not see them until, you can see them yourself, stop watching. Thanks, if you're watching now, or if not, put it in your watch later folder. And finally, onto the video. Thank you for watching. Finally, after having this channel created for about a year and a half for content creation, I'm actually getting around to using it for content creation. However, I'm not here to bore you with stories like that, so let's get right into the Xenoblade 3 combat guide. So, more specifically, what is this about? Well, Monolith Soft has never really been known for making balanced combat, so naturally, as we go along during Xenoblade 3's lifetime we'll discover kind of broken things that you can do. This is the first of many to come. So, let's start with the fact that healers are good. That is insane. I never believed they would do it, but they've gone and done it. As a trade for that, tanks are kind of falling behind. Zephyr is solid, but I guarantee you with damage people will be doing very soon, it will quickly lose aggro and all validity in team builds. So, I'm going to promise that through this guide, you can have no defenders, and through my personal build, I have 4 attackers. 2 weeks ago, I thought that 3 was brave. But no, I am very confidently having 4 attackers in my team.
I am a man who owns 4
attackers.
I am a man who owns 4
attackers.
Did you get that? I'm a man who owns 4
attackers.
With a more optimal setup, you could probably have 5. I'm not even gonna pretend I think you could have 6 attackers, but yeah. I'm not super optimized though. I don't even have all my gens up to level 7, so yeah. There's also going to be a bunch of skills and arts I'm going to recommend you upgrade through class rank as much as possible, but hypocritical me has not done that with like 2 classes because I just got tired of grinding for class points. So we're like 2.5 minutes almost into the video now, and you're probably wondering how this build actually works. So I'm going to play a clip and talk over it and kind of roughly explain how it works. So as you can see here, I am engaged in combat with the 3rd highest, in quotation marks, super boss, Dreadworm Nizunt. And as you may notice, there are, again, 4 attackers in my party, and he kind of just can't hit me. So what on earth is going on here? Well, the basics of it is I am literally just spamming arts with the word evade in their description. Because it is not like agility where it might happen and you just need a really high stat number to just avoid attacks. No, when this animation is going on, you are guaranteed to just not get hit ever. This combined with a skill to increase your art recharges when a defender is not targeted, an accessory that does the same, and another skill that when you hit a critical hit, it will partially recharge your last used art. So for this portion of the video, I'm going to give a list of recommended skills and arts, or maybe some of them that are just straight up required, and tell you what class to find them, what rank, and whether or not I recommend actually fully upgrading that art or skill. So first is the skill you get off of rank 5 the Sword Fighter, Cypher Edge, which when maxed out will give you a 50% increase to your critical rate. I think it's pretty much necessary that you upgrade this skill because otherwise it's just not a significant enough increase to be worth it for another skill. The next one is kind of more or optional, but I just think it's a really good recommendation, being the rank 10 art for Flash Fencer Cross Impact. Reason being, it has a reasonably short cooldown, which won't matter too much with this build, but it gives you power charge until the next time you use an art, which is a nice effect to have. Another one that's kind of optional is Ultimate Qigong, which is the rank 5 skill off of Thaumaturge. The reason it's kind of optional is because there's just a pool of arts that I would highly recommend choosing from, and the fact that 2 of them are required kind of limits you, so it's kind of up to you to choose, and that's generally just kind of the idea with a lot of this build, as long as you follow a few required things. So lucky me, forgot to get a screenshot of Xeon's class info, but you need Guardian Commander, rank 5, really recommend maxing this out, will decrease art cooldown if a defender is not targeted. Next is the rank 10 Master Art from Full Metal Jaguar, Quick Draw, which is a front attack up evasion art. So if you're in an Agnes class, this is the only evasion master art that Kevis offers, so it's kind of essential. As well as this, he has the talent art Violent Streak, which is also evasion, and I believe has a recharge of 2, so it is incredibly useful and I highly recommend it, although the talent art is not required. Up next is the rank 1 master art from Incursor, which is an evasion art. So it's good to have as a master art, and all you need to do is unlock the class. I believe it has a high crit rate as well, and it's also just a good class to do this in, but we'll discuss which class to actually do this build in later. Last but certainly not least is the rank 10 master art from martial artist Jackal Claw. As well as this, there is the rank 15 master skill Frenzied Combo, which when you hit a critical hit with an art, it partially recharges that art that you just used. So it's very useful to have on this build, and I would recommend upgrading that skill to the max, since you'd be at rank 15 anyways, you'd be in the final stretch, and otherwise it should be a bit small of a effect. So now on to the pros and cons of what I think are the best 3 classes to do this build in. So first we have Full Metal Jaguar, which is a Kevis class, which that in and of itself is kind of a good thing, since it opens up Agnes Master Art options. So you can do whatever combo things you have in there, like from Break, Topple, Launch, Smash, but also you can have up to 3 evasion arts plus your evasion talent art, and with that I think this becomes the best to consistently evade in. So if there's an enemy with like a lot of attack frequency and those attacks are super strong, AoE can inflict break and are just really annoying, have knockback, Kilocorn Grand Depths, this is the class to do it in. That's the situation you want to use this class. On top of this, it does extra damage the more you actually hit attacks, until one unfortunately doesn't register, but even then there's dexterity boosting items, and also when an enemy is performing an art, you get a damage bonus, which is nice because you should pretty much always be spamming arts to try and evade all the attacks that your enemy throws out. Now lastly, it's got short cooldowns. That's just nice to have this build, although it doesn't matter too much with how short cooldowns really get with 2 risky recharge boosts in this build. It gets ridiculously fast. But yeah, it does, like Quick Draw normally has an 11-second cooldown. It gets reduced to like 5 seconds with this build. Now on to the two cons. It's ether-based, so it has to mix with a lot of physical arts, and even worse, it can't utilize ultimate qigong without, being a strong physical class. As well as this, it has a low crit rate, so it also has trouble without the right setup utilizing frenzied combo, and yeah, like I said, I think this is really best used when you're fighting an enemy who has a lot of attacks coming out, and those attacks are very annoying and hard to recover from, like break, knockback, AoE, stuff like that. The second of the three classes I would say is good to do this on is Incursor, because it is really good at doing a lot of damage. Yeah, that's all I can really say, is that it's just good at dealing damage without much modification. It has a ridiculously high crit rate that can really help with making use of frenzied combo. And even better, that critical hit rate gets raised even further through skills during the battle, because I would say on their own, Incursor skills aren't anything too special, but put together, they synergize really well, and the longer the battle goes on, you can be dealing out some crazy damage numbers with just auto attacks and just a singular art, not even including fusion arts and the way we can buff those. I would say the only real con of this class is it is pretty limited in its master skill options, but yeah, other than that, it's probably one of your two best choices to do this build in, and ultimately it's up to you. And lastly is Martial Artist, which the first pro is that it's already got one of the two required skills, so that really opens up your master art options. So like you can get like Noah's Cypher Edge and get a straight 50% crit increase, and then also utilize Ultimate Qigong, which is a 50 percentage point ignorance to enemy defense. Next is that it's got a respectable crit rate, somewhere between Full Metal Jaguar and Incursor. Next is that it's got a few multi-hit arts, which synergize well with Frenzied Combo. The last pro might be a personal thing that you can decide if you like, but it is, I would say, the most spammable of all these classes. It has, I would say, it recharges its arts the fastest. The only real downside to this class, which is just so easy to combat, is that I feel like it has a slightly lower attack stat than others, but with the ability to utilize Ultimate Qigong and stuff like that, and it just doesn't really matter, because they can at least very easily reach to the levels of Incursor's damage with little effort. Lastly, there is a abundant unique monster towards the end of the Forest region who I've forgotten the name of that it is fairly easy to find. So much that you might have already fought him, but if you haven't, he drops an item called the Fraternal Badge that is essential that you have, and is the only accessory I'm going to say you need. The rest you can figure out yourself and use common sense to do. Just whatever stats you feel like need increasing, use an accessory for it. Lastly, team setup. I am not optimized at all, and I have a very rough team setup that really, I just like, Mio is just kind of like there attacking. She isn't very built out well to attack, and I need to think over my team build as a whole. So your options for a team build are pretty much unlimited. You can do whatever you want, just as long as you keep tanks out of it, or at least you make sure that they do not get aggro. I would recommend putting the Brimming Spirit gem on your attacker if you're having trouble with that and you want to use like a Lone Exile in the build for your team. So for the final portion of this video, I just want to talk you through my thought process in fighting against a super boss with this build. So as you might have noticed, Time died right at the beginning and it charged up all arts. That's because he is in the Troubadour class, which I recommend having along with Signifer. Those are two classes I really recommend having in a team build. But yeah, you can see my arts are charging really fast, and I am just spamming those evasion arts, and he can't really hit me. As I said, martial artist is probably the most spammy of the bunch, and plus it gets access to some extra options for skills, because it already has one of the skills. Now, while nothing really interesting is going on in the battle, besides him being top of luck because of there's just a lot of combo moves on my team, apologies for the quality. It doesn't appear too bad in the editing software, but I guarantee YouTube compression will wreck this portion of the video and the portion where I was facing Dreadworm Nizut. But yeah, you can really see he's just he's getting top locked and launch locked. But anyways, so also sorry for any cuts in the footage in which maybe 2 to 4 seconds get skipped. That is because I am exclusively, the only option I really have to record footage is via the Switch Capture feature, which is also another reason why it looks so low quality. Now, I believe the accessories I'm currently using are Ceramic Belt, which I think is a 31% increase to my attack stat, and Fraternal Badge, because it's kind of required, and Eunie rings, which are one of the legacy of the 7 rings you can find in Aretha Sea, which this one in particular gives a 100% increase to damage dealt in fusion arts, which you can see is why I'm easily hitting 6 digits a lot of the time, especially if I have power charge. But yeah, hitting 30,000 normally, about 50 to 60,000 without power charge, and I can just straight up hit like 300,000 on a fusion art with no troubles. Now, admittedly, instead of this super boss, I wanted to do Keelacorn Grand Depths in its place, but I underestimated just how much he attacks. He has a crazy attack frequency even before he gets enraged, which is very early on in the fight compared to all the rest. And he has a annoyingly high block rate, which means it's hard to cancel. And yeah, there's just a whole host of different issues that makes it hard to get a good run on him. You know, evasion build or not, he's just probably the toughest super boss. In terms of like being able to cheese. Now, I know I said I wanted to walk you through my thought process, but you know, there really isn't that much to talk through, because it's kind of just me spamming evasion arts. That's really all there is to it. It is just setting it up right so that your arts charge fast enough for you to spam arts that allow you to literally never get hit. I am running the Brimming Spirit Gem so that I keep aggro easily. I just think that there's not really that many attack. Well, there really isn't that many attack boosts you can get. I don't think Steel Cleaver is that good, but just going back a few seconds, you may have saw that I did die, but it doesn't really matter. I do believe I died early in the fight, but it's just you know, keep charging your hearts back up, and then you can see I've already got aggro back. That's just how much damage you do, especially with the Eunie rings. They really help with getting aggro back. A stat increase is nice, but since I'm in martial artist, or a critical hit increase is nice, but I'm in martial artist, so I can just use no skill, so I don't need to use like thermo headgear or anything like that. Back to the topic of Steel Cleaver real quick. I'm thinking that's good because at level 10 it's only a 70 point increase to your attack stat, which I don't think is that good, especially in late game. It's definitely helpful in early game, but just not at this point. And yeah, that's about all to the video. You're about to see the strongest being in all of Ionios about to get killed by a little bird girl who could dodge. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the build. I would love to hear any improvements you have to suggest. And other than that, please like and share it. Consider subscribing if you'd like. Uploads will be inconsistent, but other than that, just again, thank you for watching, and goodbye.